number 3, Facebook is in the news. It must be positive stuff, right? That Facebook is saving the world.
It always is, right?
Facebook is never in the news for good stuff. So this time it's a study from NYU that says misinformation on Facebook and other social media platforms gets clicked six times more often than factual news. Wow. So kind of not surprised, but thinking about this in terms of Facebook, not necessarily. So this really has a ripple effect. And I'm thinking about Facebook's customers, right? Not just for the social media platforms, but all of those like Nike that spend money with these social media platforms. Jeremy, you're up first with this one. Do you think Facebook and others' inability to keep fake news off the air will slow down the pace of digital advertising on the internet?
Yeah, I mean, I think we'd all like to see this problem solved, but I mean, the reality of it is that it just seems so entrenched, and there's YouTube and all these platforms kind of have the same problem. I mean, I think what's interesting about that question too is that we kind of saw this play out in sort of real time last year. There was after the George Floyd killing, there was a pretty large boycott against Facebook that it was called the Don't Stop, or sorry, no, I don't know, No Profit for Hate or something like that campaign. Stop Profit for Hate maybe. But and this got a lot of big corporations to sign on. If you recall, it was pretty, there was a big social movement broadly and with a lot of companies back then. Coca-Cola, Verizon, Clorox were some of the big names that took spending off of Facebook for months. And I think from the perspective of the boycott organizers, it was a huge success. They got a ton of media coverage. A lot of companies they asked to boycott Facebook did exactly that, and it still only put maybe a dent in the company's growth. I think their third quarter revenue was up, I want to say 20 to 25%. Maybe some spending went to some of their rivals like Pinterest or Snapchat. So I think at one point Mark Zuckerberg was like, yeah, they'll be back. Don't worry about it. To investors. But so I think there's not a lot of other places to go, and I don't know if there's any as far as this fake news problem, anywhere you can go that won't have this issue. It's somewhere, we see it on Twitter too. So I think in Facebook, it's just so dominant, and they've really just become a utility in so many ways with, something like 3 billion users around, on all their properties that, it's hard to get away from them both as a, user and an advertiser.
Toby, how about you, man?
I don't know where advertisers would go. I mean, look, it's the customers are online, right? The shoppers are online. Even if you're going to buy in person, most people tend to do some of their research online, right? For shopping, like that's where they are. So advertisers have to be where the shoppers are. There's really no choice. So whatever you think of Facebook or some of these online companies, at the end of the day, if that's where people are hanging out, that's where advertisers are going to be one way or the other.
And if it's not you, it's your kids, right?
Yeah, right. I mean, because think about it, if you're an advertiser, are you not going to advertise? I mean, maybe you make some noise about there's some controversy. It's like, oh, we don't want to pull our ads off for like a couple of weeks, maybe, or a couple of months at most. But you want customers. If that's where the people's eyeballs are, you've got to put your ad in front of them. If you don't, your competitor will. So I think that's just the reality. And the other thing to think about it is similarly, like, if something is controversial, that means a lot of people are probably engaging with it. And as an advertiser, that's where you want to be. Now you've got to walk a line, but I mean, the sites that are controversial and generate the most traffic, go there. That's where the people you're selling to are.
For Toby, no press is bad press. There you go. All righty. Well, I'm going to take a poke at my friend Matt Frankel here, who would say, well, what about Boston Omaha's billboard business? Yeah, I hear you, Matt. But I'll go back to Toby. Where are the consumers? I do not. This is a train that has left the station and is not coming back. The advertising, there is nothing that's going to slow down online advertising, programmatic advertising, digital on advertising on digital TV. The whole world is moving from the way we used to do advertising to the future state where we have targeted, focused advertising, and we know stuff about you, and we're going to use that stuff that we know about you to get you to buy the things that, or at least get you to see and interact with the things that we think you'll like. So yeah, interesting. Yeah, it kind of go back to, I remember when Zuckerberg was like, yeah, they'll come back. He's right. He is totally right.